Okay guys, welcome back to another Pro Clubs video. If it's your first time here, please consider subscribing. Let's get into 10 big tips to help all of you guys improve on FIFA 22 Pro Clubs. We never set like targets anymore, but if you want to leave a thumbs up, that would help us out big time. So we're going to start with the obvious, and that is builds. We have an exclusive playlist of all the best Pro Clubs builds here on this channel. You can check that in the link in this description, and at the end of the video, you can go and watch it and break down whatever position you and your teams play. You'll find the meta on this channel. You'll find the most overpowered builds, and it is really important. A lot of you guys will like to play your own build, or you like to mess around a little bit, but actually, there's just simple metas on Pro Clubs that have always been in place over all of the years of FIFA. They rarely change, and they're there for a reason. You guys want to be playing the most overpowered builds. Obviously, I recommend if you're in striker playing 5'6", 119 pounds. This FIFA, you can play a little bit taller than you have been able to in the past, and a lot of you have been saying that in my comments section, so maybe let me know right now down there. Are you playing tall? Are you playing the meta that I put out? What height are you guys playing, as the majority of you are probably playing in striker position, I'd imagine. On to the second point though, and that is going to be formation, and you know, this is integral to being a solid team in the divisions. The formation makes a massive difference. Please don't play 3-4-1-2. We obviously recommend 5-2-1-2, and it's what works for us, okay? We're 50-0 at the moment on Pro Clubs. In the past on FIFAs, we've used a similar formation, and we've gone 200 wins, 0 losses. We won't talk about the few draws that managed to edit that out. But for real, we always recommend a 5-2-1-2 or a 4-1-2-1-2. Nice and narrow with a cam, CDM, 2 strikers. We'll get into what positions to play in the next couple of points. But obviously, this is what works for us. And you might see a 5 at the back and think it's very defensive. We outscore everyone we play against, usually, unless we lose. It's kind of how that works. I will explain in the attacking section of this tip video how to maximize these formations that I recommend and how to get the best out of them. But for now, I'd go with the 5 at the back, 5-2-1-2. It keeps the CPUs out of your way, it keeps you nice and solid, and it means that you don't really have players out of position in a 4-back, or definitely wouldn't recommend a 3-back. But if it works for you, then crack on. Point number 3 is custom tactics around that formation, and let's just go to a little segment from our specific custom tactics video that I did with our Billy, and you guys can hear what he says about our custom tactics and how we use them. The full video is on the channel, of course, if you want to watch it, or in the description. Let's have a word from Billy now.
I just keep it on balance, 50-50. Build up play and chance creation 50-50. I should probably change the corners one because there's a corner glitch. If you do that, it's probably the best one. Then, so that's it. It's just balanced on everything because I just don't think, like, I don't want my CPUs making forward runs, and I don't want them like just being in weird positions. So I just keep it balanced. It means I'm basically in control.
Yeah. Like
they stand where a image should stand. It's not like any Guardiola Galaxy brains that are pros. But like this way, like instead of a 4-back where like the fullback's one forward, I'm left with 2 at the back. I just prefer 3 centre-backs. Like if I bring one out, I can defend as a 4-back anyway. And then on the instructions, I actually don't think I've changed anything. I probably might, if we get Div 1 and I find I'm getting free-ruled, I just change these to stay back while attacking.
Point number 4 is going to be player numbers. Now, I always recommend that you will use 4 players to maximise your chance of not losing on Pro Clubs. A CDM, a cam, a striker, and the any position, and that any filling the last striker slot. I wanted to ask you guys a question. I know you're not here for questions, but you're in it now. With the filter system, notoriously for years, I've been putting it on so that we match the same amount of players or less. Billy plays with it off. Neither of us are sure, because when I have it on, we don't match like 9 players, and when Billy has it off, we don't tend to match 9 players either. So either this doesn't work, or we've just been really lucky. What do you guys use? I recommend putting it on, but a lot of you guys, it seems genuinely to be a 50-50 split. Help, let me know in the comments. But we have found playing a 4-man CDM cam striker is the best balance, especially in this 5-2-1-2 formation, because it effectively means that apart from 1 centre mid slot, all of our attacking positions, or all of the forward positions on the pitch, are taken up by us. And that gives us the best chance of not having Derrida just sky it over the box for no reason, or get in the way of an attack, or be out of position, because really, the way you want to play Pro Clubs is for you and your mates to be attacking, and for the CPUs to be sitting back and doing most of the defending work. We'll move on to point 5 here. I want to break down the positions. Let's start with any. Obviously, the most important position on the pitch. Our any is one of the best in the world, so if you can do what we did and just grow one in a lab, and then after about 6 months they hatch, and then you can just like honestly, just deploy him whenever you need a club session. For real, the guy's an absolute joke at the game, Billy. You know that if you watch the channel, so it does help to have someone who's great at FIFA in any. So I would just say the person who's the best at foot champs probably should be the one playing any. If you're playing in the any position, make sure you use the co-op camera angle. Striker, you can get away with tele-broadcast. That's what I used, height 10 and 10, but if you're using all of the players on the pitch, you want to see the strikers making the run. You don't really want to like be caught out by the camera not having one of the players on the screen. Playing in any, win the ball quickly, high up the pitch. If you can play aggressive, do it. Don't sit off, because especially on FIFA 22, if you're going to sit off and let the other team attack or have any of the ball and possession in your third, they're going to finesse, they're going to shoot from long range. And I mean, if you watch our live streams over on Twitch, we concede so many goals from literally a team crossing it outside the box and someone just volleying it in. It's a strange FIFA. Try not to sit off, block the long shots, and when you win the ball in any, look forwards. I know that sounds pretty obvious, but so many of you guys switch the ball, you play it back to the keeper. It's pointless. The reason Billy's good at the game is because he's very direct, and like he says, you don't want to be messing around with the ball in your own third. You got the most chance of scoring in the opposition's third. I know, groundbreaking stuff here on the JCC YouTube channel. But for real, R1X, they have just patched the driven pass, but it's still very usable. Get that ball up to your strikers or your cams feet as soon as you can and look to attack, because when you've got high-rated pros against CPUs running up the pitch, I mean, the pace to get in behind is an absolute joke. Let's move on to point number 6, because we've just touched on it there a little bit, and that's going to be attacking and the attacking metas on FIFA 22. Over the top through balls are so good, okay? They are so good. We actually use the L1, R1 triangle to play the balls. They're sort of a low ball, a low over the top ball, I should say, and they're really good. They are really good. Most of the time you want to be playing an L1 triangle over the top instead of the ball on the floor. They seem to be getting cut out a lot. And unfortunately, just running in behind like a 5'3" Insigne coming out of a Tory party toilet, you're going to be wrapped. You're flying. You're absolutely flying. Try to stay off the wings unless you're a team that looks to cross it. If you are playing to, cross the ball to a tall striker, it's fairly effective. I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's better to be 5'6" and running behind. You're going to score way more goals. But if it's better for you guys to play crossing the ball into a tall striker, it is still very good this FIFA. You can be quite quick and play up front and be tall. So, try and stay off the wings is my tip, but if that's how you play, then that's how you play. And also, when you're running in on goal, remember the goalkeepers are very temperamental. Like, sometimes they'll let something in that's straight at them, and sometimes they'll fly across the goal. So there's real metas you can use. Cross goal is a lot better than front post this FIFA. Obviously the long shots have been patched about 19 times, but they're still good. The finesses can still be good. But when you're running in a goalkeeper, try to go round in with some skill moves. A ball roll is very effective. We've also seen a lot of Billy using this circle shoot as you shoot on PlayStation. Then you cancel it with L2 and R2, and you seem to sit the goalkeeper down. It's really effective. Getting round the goalkeeper is obviously the best way to score. If he's rushing out at you and you've been played through on goal, you'll see that's how we score a lot of our goals on our live streams. And let's get into point number 7 and skill moves, because I just touched on it a little bit there. Skill moves, ball roll, still very effective. The sit down that I just showed you guys, where you basically shoot and then cancel with L2, R2, and the L1 speed boost. You hold L1 and then release it into a sprint on PlayStation, and it seems to be really effective to get that boost that you used to get on old FIFAs from other things like a ball roll and all these sort of things. So yeah, those are probably the 3 that I'd recommend using. Flip-flap's always decent. If you can still use a flip-flap, it tends to sell a lot of ennies, and I'm still a big fan of the classic fake shot and scoop. Nothing wrong with them. Point number 8, defending. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm the best FIFA player in the world when it comes to defending. There's a reason I play up front on pro clubs. It's because I can pretty much only attack. But I got eyes and ears, and I've looked at Billy and I've looked at Crudo and the players that play in defensive positions for us over the years. Slide tackling is something they don't do unless they're having a laugh. Like, you literally barely need to slide tackle. It's also why in the centre-back build I just released, we don't even have the full slide tackle skill points in there, because it's just a waste. You barely slide tackle. If you slide tackle, you tend to not keep the ball anyway, right? It goes out for a throw-in or it bounces anywhere. It's just better to try to stand tackle or just to run into the players on FIFA nowadays and not even spam the circle button to tackle. Apart from that, you want to be fairly aggressive this FIFA, because if you stand off, you can be caught. Auto blocks are still very good though, so saying that, if a player's in the box, don't dive in with a circle tackle and give away a penalty. Stand him up, but if they're outside the box, I try and press so that you're at least in front of them to get an auto block registered. Otherwise, if someone finesses from the outside of the box, it's curtains, you're 1-0 down. Point number 9 is going to be for the whole team, but I guess specifically for the any to look out for styles. When you match into a game of pro clubs with somebody, there's only like 2 or 3 ways people tend to play pro clubs. You've got The rarity, which is the possession style, where they're just passing the ball around the back and trying to bore you into quitting. You've got the little meta that we use, just running in over behind with small pros, getting in behind the tall CPUs and just taking one touch and banging it. And then you've got crossing. This isn't a complicated game. This isn't League of Legends where you have tactics and things like this. There's 2 or 3 ways to win a game as a pro clubs, genuinely. And if you can register very early in a game what a team's doing, if all they're doing is going out wide and trying to cross it, we'll stick your CDM on the wingers. Stop the ball going out wide, because you're not really going to be able to mark the 6'6" striker if he's a high level and you're a 5'8" CDM. So try and block the cross. Get aggressive and stop it. If they're running in behind, I'm sorry to say there's very little you can do but outscore them. They're going to get in behind, but try and press, obviously, and stop that ball going in, playing offside traps. And if they're playing possession style, well, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to try and like have a coffee or something and stay awake, because it's painful. But recognising the style of the team, even if it's subconsciously, will help you guys, because teams tend to do, especially in the lower divisions like the Division 8 teams and all this, they do the same thing. You know, if they do have a tall striker, they will probably just cross it all day. They don't tend to mix it up. My final point is going to be 11v11 pro clubs. Get into it, VPG, VFL, whatever league is available to you and works for you. Get involved in some 11v11 pro clubs. Google it if you've not ever heard of any of it. It's brilliant and it will get you better at the game. You'll meet better players if your IRL mates who you play pro clubs with are a little bit stinky. You're going to meet some guys. Like that's how I literally know half my lot, through competitive pro clubs, and that's how we play together now for you guys, and that's how we stream and all that stuff. Hopefully this video has helped you guys out. If it has, I'd appreciate you leaving a like on it, as that does me a massive favor. Check out the rest of the content on the channel, the builds, the tips videos. If you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. We have 215,000 of you here now. I mean, where can we get to by the end of the year? 300k? Should we set that target? Pro clubs? Why not? Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.